It seems like we can't go at least a month or two without at least one bit of news coming out of Japan about payment processing companies getting their hands inside of how they do business. Jumping in there and saying that, yes, even though the buyer consents to buying something, even though the seller consents to selling something, even though the law in Japan dictates that it is legal to actually sell or buy this item, we're going to tell you, no, you didn't ask for our permission. I think that's a very big issue. I think the idea of these big companies, these credit card companies, these processing companies, really kind of dictating what people do, essentially creating their own laws, is a thing for massive concern. And it's something that I've been kind of following for a while now, especially through Taro Yamada. He seems to be like one of the biggest, political leaders that is kind of getting in there and saying, hey, folks in the diet, people in the government, you need to wake up. There's people outside of our borders that are telling us what we can sell and what we can buy. They're going against our laws that dictate what we're able to do, which I've kind of told a lot of people. Yes, Japan's laws and their, protections and whatnot for freedom of expression is very similar to what we kind of see in the United States. Yeah, technically, a lot of their constitution is based on our concepts there. So yes, I've been following Yamada for quite a while now, and I think, of course, the biggest recent news that came out of Japan was the whole situation with Surugaya. And yes, for those who don't know what happened, that whole situation, Surugaya is a major Japanese online retailer, and at some point, I think it was on May 20th, as you can see right here, there was a statement released by Telos, which I believe they pretty much handle their all their transactions, which, yes, does utilize big credit card companies. And what they stated was that as of May 19th, 2025, the sales page for adult products on Surugaya website has been temporarily closed. They also listed a statement by Surugaya citing, a situation has arisen where we need to discuss the means of payment for adult products with the provider company. Which, yes, there's the big red flag there, is the fact that, yes, they're stating specifically, payment methods are having problems. We have issues going on. Now, since then, things have been restored. Things have been restored on the site itself. As we see here, they made a statement saying that, yes, this stuff has been reinstated, but we've kind of restricted what payment processing you can do. Like, all these adult items are back on there. It's just that we had to kind of do each one of them, and the payments available for each one is different than typical products. Yes, removing credit card companies from being able to be processed for those transactions. So it's basically their way of saying, look, we're still going to sell this stuff. This is part of our economy. This is something that we sell and people buy on a regular basis. We don't want to prevent having those things listed on our site, so we're just not going to use them, which is a nice thing. I praise them for that. Like, anybody, all these companies that are dealing with this stuff, cut these people off. Cut these credit card companies off. Do not let them dictate what you sell. There's been, unfortunately, a lot of cases in the past with some of these people being affected by this stuff that are having to take big impacts on their companies. Some companies shutting down completely because of this. Yes, we've kind of seen all the previous cases like DL Site, Pixiv, DMM, Manga Library, Melon Books, even Nico Nico, even though Nico Nico didn't really state that it was specifically the credit card companies that were coming down on them. These companies are having to change how they do business, and some companies are shutting down because of what they're doing here. And that's why I really do appreciate what Taro Yamada is doing. For those who don't know who Taro Yamada is, I have him right here. Taro Yamada is somebody, again, that I've been actually following for a long time. Now, I want to preface this by saying, yes, I understand the old saying, and it's no different in Japan, how do you know a politician is lying? Their mouth is moving. I do acknowledge that, yes, even in Japan, politicians are going to have their own self-interest. But I do feel like Taro Yamada has at least put boots on the ground. He's somebody that has actually gone out there. I've talked about previously with his fighting with the whole situation with Visa MasterCard. But I'll get into it in a minute. To get into who Taro Yamada is, just to give people a little bit of background here, he's a Japanese politician, obviously, who has consistently opposed regulations on the expression of manga, anime, games, and similar media since the 22nd House of Councilors election in 2010. He's become interested in expression regulations issues because his daughter is a cosplayer and a fujoshi. Which, yes, for those who don't know what fujoshi is, a fan of BL, boys love, that kind of stuff, which, yes, in a lot of these cases, that's the stuff they're coming down on. This is what the credit card companies don't like, is that kind of stuff, which we'll get into more of that in a minute. And through her, he became to understand that there are people who feel anxious about expression restrictions. After entering the Diet through a supplementary election, he gave speeches opposing expression regulations. On February 14th, 2016, Yamada founded a political group called the Party to Protect Freedom of Expression, which focused on the policy of protecting expression. Again, this is a guy that has the boots on the ground. He also, of course, joined forces with Ken Akamatsu, of course, is known for the creator of Love Hina. For those who don't know that, Love Hina, Negima, he's the mangaka for those series. He's also become a political leader as well, and the two of them have kind of been working side by side. So we have somebody that's literally used to be in the industry itself, is seeing this stifling of expression, and he's joined forces with Yamada as well, which is fantastic. The two of them, again, are the people that I think are doing the most to kind of protect this whole situation. And of course, one of the biggest things that Yamada has done here recently was late last year, he actually confronted Visa themselves. He actually went down to the headquarters in the United States and said, "What are you guys doing?" On August 17th, 2024, Yamada laid out key points of this meeting. Visa does conduct legal assessments of whether a transaction is legal or illegal, but does not make value judgments on content that is legal. That sounds a little counter to what's actually happening, right? Even in regard to adult content, they apply universal standards such as compliance with age-related rules, again, including no children allowed. The content is provided with consent. Based on these standards, they make decisions, but they do not set or evaluate standards regarding the nature of the content itself. For Visa's own regulations, headquarters only set the criteria, and decisions are made on the ground level, not by the headquarters. Again, very interesting. And I think that sort of brings up the question mark, is this a problem at the headquarters or is this a problem at the local level? As a result of this meeting, Visa's headquarter policy and stance has been made clear. Going forward in addressing credit card-based content restrictions, I intend to follow up with local level entities such as acquiring banks, merchant contract companies, or payment processors who appear to be making the actual decisions. So right here, the headquarters of Visa is saying, whoa, no, we don't do that stuff. We don't do that stuff. That's the assumption that's happening. But yes, they're claiming they're not doing anything. And following that, on November 27th, of course, we had the whole statement that was made by Seton Kidney, who, of course, is the president representative director of Visa Worldwide Japan. And they stated during a Q&A, a question was raised about the recent trend of Visa being unable to use their payment methods on websites selling legally in Japan adult content. Kitani responded that while Visa's policy is to make its services available for legal and legitimate purposes as much as possible, sometimes it is necessary to make certain things unusable to protect the brand. Big red flag right there. He explained that the actual decisions are complex, involving a balance between global and local policies. They emphasize that maintaining integrity and completeness is also important, suggesting that these decisions are not temporary but will continue. Again, that's very, very to the point of what the headquarters said, but a little bit contrary to it. And the idea that, yes, this sort of does lead us to believe it's not necessarily the headquarters of Visa doing it, but local entities that are doing it. At that point, Yamada did contact Visa Worldwide Japan, and they clarified the following points on December 2nd. There have been no changes or additions to the response provided by Visa US headquarters. The reported comments acknowledge that there may be instances where acquirers and payment processors make such judgments at the operation level. In essence, both Visa US headquarters and Visa Worldwide Japan maintain consistent positions with the information previously obtained by Yamada Taro. The official stance is as follows. While Visa evaluates transactions based on legal and illegal criteria, it does not make value judgments on legal content. Again, if it's legal, it's allowed. Doesn't seem like they're doing that. Regarding adult content, Visa has established universal standards based on age verification to prevent, obviously, bad things happening to children, and consensual provisions. However, Visa does not set standards or make judgments on the content itself. Visa headquarters only sets the standards for Visa regulations. Individual judgments are made at the operational level. Visa's headquarters has never issued instructions prohibiting the handling of content containing specific terms or keywords. Well, the conclusion that he sort of came to is that it doesn't seem like, if we take their word for it, that the headquarters in America is saying anything. This is sort of kind of leading to this idea that the headquarters that were in Asia and Japan specifically were the ones causing the problem. But I think because of this whole kind of runaround that they were given, Taro Yamada, I believe he came to the conclusion that this is going to be something that they're going to have to do in the Japan government, that the Diet is going to have to take action. If they can't get clear answers from Visa themselves, they're going to have to take action in the Diet to prevent this stuff from happening. Which, yes, all leads us to the post that was made today by Taro Yamada. Taro Yamada says, breaking news, the first meeting of the Content Industry Strategy Promotion Study Group on June 3rd. A new study group has been established, with the resolution of the credit card issue as one of the key themes. Thank you. Again, he's taking action. He's actually taking action. He's bringing people together and saying, we have to stop this. It has been agreed that the group will work with the government to address the credit card problem. Previously, it was difficult to find lawmakers who shared concerns about credit card expression regulations. However, as a result of persistent and tenacious efforts, the understanding of the study group's members, lawmakers, has been gained. Bringing people together for this. This study group aims to research and propose effective policy to promote the sustainable development and strengthening the global competitiveness of content industries such as animation. Its mission is to deliver tangible results. Again, actually getting stuff done. I love it. Under the strong leadership of former Prime Minister Fumio Kishida as chairman and Diet member Fumiaki Kobayashi as Secretary General, the group is committed to achieving solid outcomes. The study group's main area of focus include not only various policies I've championed for the past 6 years since 2019 upper house election, such as protecting and supporting animators and creators, combating piracy, and utilizing digital technologies, but also new challenges related to freedom of expression, such as resolving the credit card issues and responding to the new cybercrime treaty. The cybercrime treaty situation I've mentioned before in my previous video regarding this kind of, stifling of expression is a massive, massive rabbit hole, and I still want to do an entire video on that to give people sort of a very dumb but very watered down and surface level understanding of what they're sort of combating it for. Is that the cybercrime treaty, even though it is not fully accepted globally as a UN treaty, it is sort of one of those situations where Yamada and several other people are kind of concerned that it'll have a similar situation as the Texas SB 20 situation that we're currently facing, where the treaty itself includes an article that is about protecting children, but depending on how it's implemented, it could stifle artistry. It could stifle creativity and, yes, impact manga and anime as a whole. Again, it is one of the situations where there is stipulations within it that sort of restrict it to real children, which is a good thing. But again, it's how it's sort of implemented could have impact. And Yamada and several other people are concerned about that. And again, I might make a whole video on that. It's a very difficult one to kind of discuss because there's so much details that sort of get lost in translations from what people in Japan are sort of saying about it. But anyways, that's another story. Regarding the new cybercrime treaty, which I've been tackling almost single-handedly, former Prime Minister Kishida will now join forces with me. This follows his strong response to my question at the House of Councilors Financial Affairs Committee when he stated freedom of expression, such as in manga and anime, is an important right guaranteed by the Constitution, and we want to proceed with the treaty negotiations in a way that does not unduly restrict freedom of expression. And why I'm really kind of including this paragraph, even though I'm not going to talk about the cybercrime treaty specifically, is this does kind of show that aspect that they're committed, even with the whole situation with the UN treaty, they're committed to protecting freedom of expression. And again, this whole focus group, they're committed to the idea of preventing things like, again, the credit card companies from stifling that freedom of expression. That's how committed they are. Again, it's a sign they're sick and tired of it. This is why it gets me so excited. These are the folks that have boots on the ground and they're getting stuff done. This isn't Andrew on a YouTube video going, oh my gosh, the credit card company is attacking us again. It doesn't do anything. Me yelling on a video about how I hate the credit card companies for doing this doesn't change anything. It gets awareness out there and hopefully some people will kind of together push back, but nothing's going to happen until somebody like this, these group members get together and they say, people are sick of this stuff. I keep getting messages from people saying this is a bad thing. Let's get this done. And again, based on the fact that Yamada has already gone to Visa already and said, what the hell are you doing? And he got the runaround. It's led to this. It's led to them having to take governmental action to stop this crap from happening. And that, again, is what needs to happen because obviously things aren't changing. And these companies are being impacted and expression is being impacted. And there's a lot of impact that's happening that's not really necessarily being broadcast. In a lot of cases, a lot of creators are being very careful about what they do because they're afraid of that happening to them. And that's the other problem. I mean, it was pretty visible with the whole situation with Pixiv. People having to change what they create because they don't want to be impacted by it. But again, this is action being taken. He concludes with, we will intensify our efforts to engage with the government and deliver solid results. This guy right here. This guy right here. Thank you. Thank you. This is, again, what needed to happen, unfortunately. This is what, unfortunately, because they kept being pushed, this is what had to happen. They had to have this group come together and say, we need to take this to the government. We have to take this to the Diet. Action has to be taken. What action that is, That's a question mark. I think they've kind of stated before there's a lot of like provisions and whatnot that these credit card companies have, a lot of access that they have that could be revoked. They could put in stipulations. They could put in fines. They could put a lot of stuff into it. And I think it's really going to come down to a case-by-case basis of them going directly, the government itself going directly to Visa and saying, why'd this happen? Explain. Find out why. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, but you might not be able to do business with us anymore. And again, that was sort of what a lot of people were saying that was possibly going to come down to, is that a lot of these companies need to turn to domestic providers like JCB and just focus on them. By the way, that is the latest update, what's going on with the government and government officials regarding, again, the whole situation with the credit card companies. Again, I will continue to keep an eye on it. I've been pretty much keeping a hawk eye on Yamada himself, as again, I think a lot of what he's doing is sort of at the forefront of it. But I think it's sort of a good positive sign amidst all of the coverage of the negative impacts that they're having on these companies. Again, like the recent issue that came up with Surugaya. But anyways, I'll keep an eye on it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it informative. If you did, hit the like button down below, comment, let me know what you think of this whole situation. Do you think this is a nice positive sign? Do you think that stuff will get done? Do you think the Yamada is just trying to get in good with people so he can get elected again? Let me know. And again, if you guys are interested in the whole situation with the treaty, let me know. Again, I might push forward that video covering that whole situation. Again, it's a lot to dig through. The whole thing with the treaty itself is it's not just Japan. It's a UN thing. And so a lot of people have their own opinions. Even in the United States, we have a lot of people are sort of pushing back against it for different reasons. But again, obviously for my coverage of anime and manga and content, my focus is more on that stuff. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this content, you want to support more, I've links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. Until next time, y'all take care.